We're going to take a look at another two-sample t-test. The two samples come from two groups based off of regions and their performance. This is the financial example of the performance of stocks, and it's called a weighted alpha, which again, it's a technical financial term, but these values again represent the weighted alpha for the top 30 stocks of banks in the Northeast, and then for the West, being able to compare from regions. And so here's the data. And so what we want to test to see, is there a difference between the two regions? And so it can get confusing. You have all of this data, and then how do we actually compare one by one, look at it all as a group in small samples? And what we do again is what we've been doing is just looking at the overall means, right? Mean values and comparing them. Is there a difference between the Northeast, right? No difference is the null hypothesis. And is there a difference? Not equals is the alternative. And so those are our two groups there, two sample t-tests. We have to check the conditions, and again, if conditions are not met, then we have to be careful with our analysis of our results. And in this case, we're assuming that the bank's 30 stocks is less than 5% of all stocks in the country, right? Those are the financial stocks we're talking about, like the stock market. Random, it's not random, so that's where we just got to, again, it's not a random sample. We're looking at the top 30 stocks, so that's okay. We're because we're just looking at the top 30 in that sense, so it's not really random, and our samples are large enough. And so our test statistic and p-value is what we do. We're not going to do that by hand, but notice in this case we have the actual raw data, all of the data. So what has to happen is that needs to be entered in, because we do not have the summary stats. We do not have, right, no summary statistics. And so what we're going to do, and I should make sure we get that, we have no summary stats like in the previous examples we've had. So what happens is I've already entered in the data. It's actually Northeast. I've entered the data already in. So what we're going to do is a t-stats 2 sample, this time with data. Our first column is the Northeast, second column is the West, and we're running a hypothesis test to see. The first one is Northeast, the second one is West, and we're seeing, is there a difference? No difference. That's it. Compute. And that's where we get the values from the t-stat and the p-value. The t-stat and then the p-value when we go ahead and look at that there. And looking at that again here, looking at these values here, I get a t-stat of 0.153. So your t-test statistic is 0.153, and then the p-value in this case is 0.879. 0.879, that's it. And so then we can go ahead and make a decision based off what we have here. Since the p-value, this one is greater than alpha, and in this case, since there is no alpha, what do we use? We use 0.05. Since it's greater than that, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. So we say that's true and this is not true. So there is insufficient evidence to conclude that there is a difference in weighted alpha between the two regions. So we're saying that we think they're the same. We have evidence to suggest that they're the same, okay? And so when we reject that,